Hello, welcome students for today's class. In this class, we are going to discuss about the risk and return. The agenda for today's topic is to know about the risk and return, to understand the relationship between the risk and return, to identify the risk and return involved in common investment alternatives, what we have discussed in the previous class. And also aware about the expected return and realized return. So, what is expected return and what is realized return and what is the difference between expected return and realized return is what you are going to learn in this topic. Now, let us try to understand the concept of risk and return. Risk and return is a complex topic as because the topic comes under the finance, which is very complex, because the risk and return are associated with various investment alternatives, and you don't know what amount of risk exactly involved in that particular alternative, and to handle handle the risk that is there in a one particular investment alternative, there are many ways. You need to understand that what kind of risk that is there in a particular investment alternative and how to handle that risk in the by applying various techniques. So, that is why understanding the risk at the same time return also associated with that. So, the amount of risk that you take and the amount of return that you can expect. So, this relationship is very, very important. So, that is why the concept risk and return is said to be a complex. There are many types of risks and many ways to evaluate and measure risk. Of course, there are many types of risks that are associated with various investment alternatives. Also, there are various ways to measure these risks as well. So, that is what. And the theory and practice of investing, a widely used definition of risk is the uncertainty and the investment will earn its expected rate of return. So, the risk is the uncertainty, means the variability of return is nothing but a risk, but why there is a possibility of variability of return is the uncertainty, because in any investment alternative you will invest and wait for some time. Since you wait for some time, so your return is dependent on the future. So, your future is uncertain, that is the reason why your return is also uncertain. And the return on investment is the gain or loss on that particular investment over a defined period. So, the investment what you make, it can gain you or it can also lose you. So, depending upon the end result, you will be said to be whether you are a gainful investor or a losing investor. Now, let us try to understand what kind of relationship that risk and return may have. Investors are risk averse. So, given some expected return, they will choose the investment for which the return is more certain. So another important parameter here is while understanding the risk and return is risk aversiveness. Investors always try to be risk averse. Risk averse is nothing but risk avoidance, the kind of attitude. So, here investors have money and they invest money. In whatever the investment alternatives that they invest their money, every investment alternative is associated with risk. Unless and until they know that there is a risk in that, and also if they quantify the amount of risk that is there in a particular investment alternative, they can't handle that particular investment thing. That is why they should understand what is the risk involved in that particular investment. So, here in case if a person is known that an investment that he has made is risky investment, then what he will do is he try to avoid such kind of investment alternatives. For example, if an investor has invested their money in equity, so and we all know that investment in equity is of risky. We don't know whether your investment will gain money or your investment will lose your money. So now here your investment is subjected to a very great level of risk. Now here being this particular point, risk aversiveness. So always investors try to choose a kind of investment alternative which is of very less. So what he will do is, if they want to invest their money in the equity, then let's say there are two companies, company 1 and company 2, and the company 1 is a blue chip company and the company 2 is let's say another company that is related to sectorials or the mid cap companies. So a company from blue chip company and a company from the group of mid cap companies. So naturally blue chip companies will have more fundamentals, and fundamentally they are strong, and they also comply with all the rules and regulations of the required by the exchange and various other regulatory bodies, and they are very strong enough. So on the other hand, mid cap companies are not like that. So some of the companies in mid cap may struggle to contribute the funds for the current daily routine business purposes. So in such a scenario, if you compare a company from blue chip industry, blue chip category, and also a company from mid cap category, then what is the best alternative is the blue chip category. So always investors try to prefer the blue chip category of stocks. So this kind of nature is known as the risk aversiveness. Always they try to reduce the risk wherever they would like to invest. So though it is an equity investment, but in that investors always try to be risk averse and try to choose a kind of risk in a kind of investment alternative where there is relatively low risk. Investors demand a higher expected return for higher risks. Another important parameter towards investment is risk and return. So when they take more risk, then they expect more return. When they take less risk, then they expect less return. That is what a very general scenario. Say being an investor, so if you are taking more risk, then definitely, certainly you will expect a more return out of it. Okay. At the same time, since you are, if you are taking very lesser risk or going for a kind of very conservative kind of investment alternatives, then you would certainly expect a very lesser return. So in this particular, in the previous example, since we have gone for the high risk investment alternative like equity, so where you may expect a higher risk, higher return, but in case if you go for a kind of conservative kind of investment like bonds, debentures, certainly we would expect very lesser return. So that is also a concept of risk and return. A higher expected return does not guarantee higher realized return. This is very important. So in case of investment world, expected return and realized return, there are two terms. Expected return is something what we expect out of the investment. Realized return is what we have realized at the end of the investment tenure. So for example, expected return, what we have expected is say 12% rate of return we have expected at the end of, initially by the time of what we invest our money. But at the end of the investment period, say we may realize only 10% return. So expected is 12%, but what is realized is only 10%. So that is the difference between expected return and realized return. Returns on risky assets are uncertain. So another important thing, as we are saying that risky assets play a very important role, and they give you more return. Of course, there are chances that your risky assets will give you more return, but at the same time, they are risky. They are of more risk. So that's why the probability that, or what we call the possibility of achieving that particular return is very, very less in case of risky asset, because there is a greater levels of risk is associated with the kind of investment. That is why risky assets are uncertain. Your return is uncertain. We can't say whether your return is going to be realized or not. And also investment may not earn as expected return. That's what. So possibility is very, very less. There may not be a possibility that whatever expected return that is there on the risky investments may or may not be realized. Now let's see the risk and return relationship. It's a beautiful diagram which will tell you about the relationship between the risk and return. On the left hand side, you will see the return component. And on the downside, you can see the risk component. So return is what we expect out of the investment, the profit what we expect out of the investment is return, and the risk is something what we are ready to face while we make an investment, as in the case of losing our money. So that is what return and risk. Now the relationship between these two variables are low risk, low return, and high risk, high potential return. So if you go for a low risk kind of investment alternatives, so let's say for example an alternative is here somewhere. Now where the risk is less, this what is a risk? The risk is less and also the return is also less. This component is less. In case if you consider any one particular investment alternative here, then for this investment alternative, what is there is the risk is more. At the same time, the return is also more. So, but this return is nothing but the expected return only. So, when you are facing high level of risk in this way, then you can expect a high level of return, but there is no possibility, or what we call, there is no guarantee that your return is realized or not. So that is the difference between this. That's why it is called a high potential return. So potentially there is a chance that your return will be high, but at the same time there is a possibility that you may or may not realize this particular return. So that is what I realize. In the general scenario, high risk, high return, low risk, low return. So you face the high risk, then you can expect high return. If you face the less risk, then you can expect only less return. Now let's see the concept of risk. A person making an investment expects to get some returns in the form of returns from the investment in the future. So every person who go for an investment, they invest and expect some return, but that return is related to the future period. And here important point to be understood is your return is dependent on the future period. So that's why it is the uncertainty associated with this particular return, because it is expected in the future. So in the future we don't know what is going to happen. That's why it is associated with some kind of uncertainty, and that introduces the concept called risk into the project. So since your return is dependent on the future and your future is about uncertainty, and that adds the component of risk into the project or what we call investment that is selected. The expected return is the uncertain future return that a firm expects to get from the project. That's what we are going to discuss now. So when whatever the expected return that you have, that is what is expected from the uncertain future. And realized return is, on the contrary, is the certain return that a firm has actually earned. So despite of all the uncertainties, if a firm manages and try to achieve the kind of return what is expected as, then it is called realized return. So, you have expected 8%, though the firm faced the difficulties during, but finally if it earns 8%, then it is called actually earned return. And then when realizations correspond to the expectation, that's whatever the expectations that we have, let's say we expected 12% return, and in case if our realized return is also 12%, then it is said to be that there is no risk. So, since you have expected 12% and you achieve 12%, that's why you can say that this investment has no risk. We can see a small video on this risk and return. Now, let us see the elements of risk. What are the different elements are about a particular risk? Now, there are broadly two groups of elements classified as systematic risk and unsystematic risk. The basic the classification of the risk is systematic risk and unsystematic risk. Now, let us discuss about what is systematic risk. Business organizations are part of society and that is dynamic. So, you all know businesses must run in the society, and the society is of dynamism. So, there are a lot of dynamism exists with the society. A lot of things are changing every day, every time in the society. That's why business operations must be done in a dynamic society. Various changes occurs in the society like economic, political and social systems. So, definitely we would see there are a lot of changes that are associated with economically. So, economically there may be certain changes. So, the other day the government has taken decision on demonetization, and before that we have seen very earlier we have seen LPG Act. So, there are different reforms that we have seen. So, these are related to economic changes. And then political changes. So, politically there may occur change in the society. So, people may prefer one political party for the first time and then they prefer another political party for the next time. So, this is what we call it as a change in the political scenario. And also the social systems. So, the relationships between the society, in the society. So, the social relationships and how the social systems are there. So, these are all the different things related to the our business. So, there are a lot of changes that are happening in these areas and which will have an influence on the performance of the company and thereby expected returns. That definitely the expected returns are dependent on these changes. So, if these changes are favorable to the company, so then we will see the favorable change on the company. Let us say for example, the people, societal systems in the case. So, people preferences have changed. If the people preferences changes, and in case if the people preferences changes to the product what you are manufacturing, then it is a good sign for you, because all the people are coming towards your product category. So, then it is a good change for you. And also economic things. So, government would like to give more and more what we call the provisions for your business, then it is a good sign as far as the economy is concerned. And the same way politicians who involved in the actual systems who takes better decisions related to your development of your own industry. So, these are all the good changes that you see, and definitely these will have a very good impact on your business and your performance will increase. At the same time, there is a chance on the other side your business also can be affected. And the portion of total variability in returns caused by such factors is called the systematic risk. That is what? A systematic risk is nothing but the variability in these factors will have an influence on your business, which is called a systematic risk. So, this risk can positively affect your business or negatively affect your business, but it will affect your business, which is nothing but a systematic risk. And these risks are further subdivided into there are different categories of systematic risk like interest rate risk, market risk, purchasing power risk. So interest rate risk is nothing but the rate of changes in the interest rates. Today you will see that a 5% interest rate on the bonds. The other day you may see 6% interest rate. So the change in interest rate risk, market risk. So the change in the different factors which are related to the market. So market risk. Purchasing power risk. Today people don't have any purchasing power with them because people are getting jobless. They don't have money with them. So they also cannot afford to purchase anything. So that's why purchasing power risk. So these are all related to the changes that are happening in the economic scenario, political scenario, and social system scenario, and that's why this is called a systematic risk. So absolutely, systematic risk is nothing but an uncontrollable risk because all these changes, economic, political, social changes, cannot be influenced by you. You cannot control all these changes. They will affect you, and whether they affect you in a positive way, then it will be fine, or otherwise it will be against you, and you need to manage those changes. And the other side, it is unsystematic risk. So unsystematic risk is on the other hand, which is related to only that company. These factors related to only that company. So if you do business in the society, and in case if you do business in a efficient way, means all the factors that are related to your company handled properly, then probably this unsystematic risk may not affect you, but otherwise it may affect you. Now let's see the examples of some factors are like raw material scarcity, labor strike, management inefficiency. These are all the factors related to specific company. Let's say raw material scarcity. So there is a shortage of raw material. So what you might have done, you might have associated with various number of different number of suppliers. Then you might not face this difficulty because even though one supplier is default in supplying the raw material, then you can approach another one. One supplier has increased the raw material cost, then you can associate with another raw material supplier. So that's how you need to handle this. And then labor strikes. Labor have suddenly called for a strike. Then you might understand why they have gone for this strike and what is the reason. Maybe can you able to solve this situation, and labor strikes can be curtailed. And then management inefficiency. So in case management is inefficient in handling different matters related to business, so all these factors are specific to the business. So these factors, if these specific factors, if you don't handle it, then it will pose you the unsystematic risk. So changes that are happening in the business, which are controlled by you, then it can be handled, otherwise it cannot be handled. And this risk is unique and particular to a specific organization. Of course, these all factors that are related to your firm only. The other factors, and these factors to the other firms are different. The raw material scarcity, you may have it, but the other firms may not have it. And the labor strikes, you may have it, but the other firms may not have it. That's why these factors are specific to your own organization, and that's why it adds, it's an addition to the systematic risk. And of course, it is an addition to the systematic risk. Apart from the systematic risk, if you are having any problems in these domains, then it will give you another additional set of risk, that is unsystematic risk. And these risks are subdivided into business risk and financial planning risk. So these are all different types of risks comes under unsystematic risk category. Now let us see the concept of return. Return is the change in price of an asset or investment or project over time, which may be represented in terms of price change or percentage. So you have invested your money into equity market with 1 lakh. At the end of 10 years, the money, the share capital has increased to 7 lakhs. Now initial investment is 1 lakh, and you have achieved 7 lakh rupees at the end. So the difference between 7 lakhs and 1 lakh. So 6 lakhs is the difference. So this is what we call it as a return. And it can be expressed in in terms of price, just now we discussed 6 lakhs, it's a price change. Also it can be expressed in terms of percentage also. A positive return represents a profit while a negative return marks a loss. So certainly, so whenever you get a more return than what you have expected, what you have invested, so you have more money than what you have invested is what? Positive return. And if you invest some X and if you have something like X minus, then it is called a negative return. There are two components in the risk return, that is basic component periodic cash. Like say for example, you have invested your money in bonds. So bonds will give you some kind of coupon rate of interest. So this interest will be given to you on a periodical times. Like you have invested in bonds for 5 years. So first year you get interest amount, second year you will get interest amount, third year, fourth year, fifth year also you will get the interest amount. But in the fifth year, along with the interest amount, you will get the principal amount. So that's what the return that you get it in the what we call in the debentures. But in case if you invest your money in the what we call equity investment, then you will get the periodical investments like dividends. So companies announce dividend. If they get a surplus profit, they will announce you dividends. And these dividends will be given to you for the each and every shareholder per share what they have. These are called as a periodic cash flows. So these are periodic cash flows that you receive. On the other hand, you will get the change in the price of an asset. You have invested your money at 1,000 rupees per share. So maybe at the end of the investment period, it can become 3,000. So this kind of capital appreciation, this what we call it as a capital gain or capital appreciation. So there are two components in the return. One is periodical investments, like periodical returns like dividends, and also the capital gains like this price change at the end of the investment period. So these two are the main components in the return. Now let's conclude this. The risk and return goes hand in hand. Both are very important for the investors to be understood. So how the risk is associated with a return. If you want to go for a high risk kind of investment alternatives, then we should expect high return from that particular investment. And if we go for a low risk or a conservative kind of investment, you would expect a very less risk, very less return out of it. And the return what we get it is the difference between the final investment amount and the initial investment that what we have achieved, and this can also be expressed in price difference or also the percentage of change. So this is what about the risk and return. Now let's have a small quiz on this. Risk in equity is lesser than the risk in bond. Do you agree with it? No, because the equity investment is associated with the high risk. So that's what high risk in case of equity. The expected return and realized return both are same. Expected return and realized return, does both are same? No, expected return is something what you have expected before investment. Realized return is at the end of the investment period, whatever return that you realize is called realized return. The risk and return relationship is downward sloping. Yes, correct, because risk and return is upward relationship, correct, because we have seen in the diagram we have seen this is what an upward in sloping. So correct. The total return of an asset for the holding period is called, so it's called a holding period yield, what we call a yield. In an equity investment, a part of investment is dividend and the other is called as capital appreciation. Very good. Disclaimer, thank you very much for participating in this lecture. Thank you.